Yo, what's going on, guys? It's Houston Sports Talk back in another video today, and today there was a three-team trade between the Boston Celtics and the Los Angeles Clippers and the Washington Wizards to land Kristaps Porziņģis to the Boston Celtics in a blockbuster deal. Now this deal is not officially official yet, but it is being final. What I'm reading is that it is a potential trade that is most likely gonna happen, and that it is on the works of being finalized. And the three-team trade that so far these are all the details we know that the pick. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if there are more details that will be in this trade that we don't know of so far. I mean, kind of like, I'm just throwing out an example. When the Bradley Beal trade happened between the Suns and the Wizards, Jordan Goodwin and Isaiah Todd, two players on the Wizards roster, no major players, they were a part of the trade for the Wizards going to the Suns. And it wasn't announced that Jordan Goodwin and Isaiah Todd were going to the Phoenix Suns till like the next day after the trade was already reported. So I wouldn't be surprised if, I'm going to go over everything that has been reported about, who's getting what in this trade. But I wouldn't be surprised if there are more, and I've tried it on the trade, the trade machine. This trade does go through. It's a success, but I wouldn't be surprised if there are maybe any pick swaps or additional picks in this trade, and that's something we'll have to see. And I wouldn't be surprised if something else is added into this potential trade. But let's go over what the trade has been reported to be so far. And that is is in the works of being finalized. The Celtics receive Kristaps Porziņģis after having a hell of a season this year with the Washington Wizards, averaging 21 points per game, to pair up with Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum for a big three. And I think with this trade happening for Boston, I'm going to go ahead and say it. I think Boston has to be the favorites in the Eastern Conference next season, with now having Kristaps Porziņģis and having Kristaps and having Kristaps, JB, and Tatum together. Now what the biggest holdup in this trade is Porziņģis player option. Porziņģis has a $36.9 million player option, and for this trade to go through, they need Porziņģis to opt into this player option, which I think is something Porziņģis would do. I feel like Boston would be a place he would want to go to, and I ultimately do think it is reported that Porziņģis will most likely opt in to his $36.9 million player option for this trade to go through, but that is one of the biggest holdups on this trade being finalized. The Clippers received Malcolm Brogdon, who won Sixth Man of the Year this season, averaging 15 points per game. I love this move for the Clippers, getting Malcolm Brogdon. The only thing I really wonder with the Clippers getting Malcolm Brogdon is, what does this mean for the Clippers? Are they still after Chris Paul and Russell Westbrook? Because we've heard that the Clippers are interested in Chris Paul. Even though they've added in Malcolm Brogdon, would they still be interested in trading or signing Chris Paul, even though they've added in Brogdon, who, yes, he can play the point guard position, but is more of a shooting guard? And not only that, Brogdon is also more of an off of the bench kind of player. So honestly, even though we've seen the Brogdon be a reliable starter in the past with the Pacers, I feel like Brogdon would be really good for the Clippers off the bench, in my opinion. That's just my opinion. But if you look at some of the Clippers potential players the Clippers have off the bench next season, I feel like one would be a starter. But if you view it, some of the decent, all three of them have been Sixth Man of the Year candidates. Norman Powell, he finished. He finished second in voting last year for Sixth Man of the Year. Malcolm Brogdon, who actually won Sixth Man of the Year this year. Eric Gordon won Sixth Man of the Year in the 16-17 season, was a candidate for the same award in the 17-18 season. I think he finished second or third place. So I'm not sure if all of Eric Gordon, Malcolm Brogdon, and Norman Powell would be coming off the bench. I'm pretty sure one of them will be starting. I would think Gordon would be the one to start for the Clippers, and Brogdon and Norman Powell would come off the bench. But Norman Powell and Malcolm Brogdon off the bench for the Clippers is very nice if Brogdon comes off the bench. Those two, you got the scoring with Powell and Brogdon, both good, solid defenders. Powell, a really good defender, both really good three-point shooters. That's another reason I like this trade for the Clippers. Not only are they not only are the Clippers getting rid of a really terrible contract, but they're getting another good shooter. I mean, how many good three-point shooters do the Clippers already have, and now they're adding in another one? Honestly, the Celtics are the big winner in this trade, but the Clippers also won this trade too. And then finally, what the Wizards got for the All-Star Porziņģis, the Wizards get Marcus Morris Sr., and that is the bad contract. I am talking about the Clippers. Morris's contract is like $17 million, and he is like aging, and he's still, he's a decent player. He's a solid three-point shooter. But he's not worth 17. Morris has a horrible contract, and since last season it started to disappear from the Clippers rotation. And then I know people talk bad about how the Wizards have made a couple bad trades, but I do like this addition right here, getting Amir Coffey, who averaged 5 points per game this season with the Clippers. I think he's a really solid player and should have a really decent role with the Wizards next season. I really like the Amir Coffey addition. And then the Celtics send Danilo Gallinari to the Wizards as well. I expect Danilo Gallinari to be bought out or released by the Washington Wizards, but that is just, I don't see the Wizards keeping Gallinari. And then the Wizards also get the 30th overall pick in this year's draft from the LA Clippers. So going over it quick, Celtics get Porziņģis, Clippers get Brogdon, Wizards get Marcus Morris Sr., Amir Coffey, Danilo Gallinari, and the 30th overall pick. So that is the full trade. Big winner are the Boston Celtics, but I got to give the side winner to the Los Angeles Clippers too. I think, obviously, Boston definitely, they did win this trade by a mile. But the Clippers also did really well in this trade. They finally got rid of Morris's horrible contract, which was one of the most things that the Clippers needed to do this offseason. And they managed to get Brogdon for Morris, Coffey, and the 30th overall pick. I thought the Clippers did really well in this trade. And I want to read this thing that I read before I end the video about this tweet I read. And it's for Wizards fans, I'm sorry that I have to do this. But this is what the Wizards ended up getting in return for Bradley Beal, Kristaps Porziņģis, and Rui Hachimura, trading those three players. In return, they got Kendrick Nunn, Chris Paul, Landry Shamet, Marcus Morris Sr., Amir Coffey, Danilo Gallinari, a couple second-round picks, multiple pick swaps, and pick 30. I know that sounds good because it's a lot of players and a lot of picks, but all of that for Porziņģis and Bradley Beal and Rui Hachimura and what they've traded in the last couple months since February, in the last 3 months, and the three trades they've done to land, to get rid of Hachimura, Porziņģis, and Beal. Those, I know Hachimura was going to be a free agent this offseason, but getting Kendrick Nunn and multiple second-round picks was a bad trade, in my opinion, for the Wizards, and not these two trades to start off the offseason. I know they did get some solid, a couple solid things for a player who was going to be a free agent. They got the 30th overall pick, Amir Coffey, and a couple of veterans like Morris and Gallinari, who for a player who was going to hit the market and most likely leave this offseason. But I still think this was a bad trade for the Wizards. And I hate to say it for Wizards fans, but I think the Wizards are most likely going to be, if not the worst team in the NBA next season, one of the worst teams in the NBA. And I hate to talk like that when my team has been one of the worst teams in the NBA for the last couple of years in the Rockets. But, well, it seems like the Rockets are going to be way better next year with, adding in some good pieces in the draft this year, having one of the best cap spaces in the NBA, being able to spend $60 million in free agency. It looks like the Rockets are heading in the right direction next season, adding in Ime Udoka to be their head coach, Boston Celtics former head coach. But it looks like the Wizards might be having some rough times next season. But I wish the best for Wizards fans because it looks like it's going to be a tough year for them next season. But you guys have your thoughts on the trade. I admire Boston and the Clippers. They both did very well in this trade. Boston, the big part of it was Boston adding in Porziņģis with Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum. Those three together are going to be great. I mean, Bradley Beal teaming up with KD and Booker, and now you have Porziņģis teaming up with Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. So both Celtics and Suns are improving their rosters. I don't know if I guess you could say the Suns, even though people think the Suns made a bad trade on that trade, that was a good trade for the Suns. They got rid of Chris Paul, had to give away Landry Shamet and a couple of second-round picks for Bradley Beal. Yes, they don't have a lot of defense and a lot of depth now, but I mean, they only really traded one player away that was off the bench with Landry Shamet. It's not like they traded a bunch of players back, and they got a couple of players back when Jordan Goodwin and Isaiah Todd. But in my opinion, the Celtics did great in this trade. So did the Clippers. Celtics have improved their roster a lot. So have the Clippers. So have the Suns. So this offseason is starting to heat up. Bradley Beal's been traded to the Suns. Porziņģis has been traded to the Celtics. Malcolm Brogdon's been traded to the Clippers. And hopefully there's going to be way more to talk about this offseason. You guys have your thoughts on the trade. That's the video. Hope you guys enjoyed, and peace out.